25, that flame flickered out. At 37, the Chinese actor-singer Menglong, also known as Alan Yu, drew his last breath. What exactly happened? How did this bright star collapse so suddenly? Overwhelmed by grief, fans and netizens around the world scrambled for answers. The official version, simple, clinical, cold, declared an accidental fall with no signs of foul play. But rumors swirl like storm winds. Whispers that something darker lurked behind the silence. Born on June 15, 1988, in Urumqi, Xinjiang, Menglong was more than a face on the screen. He trained in Beijing, cultivated a singer's heart, and drifted into acting as though he were fulfilling a quiet destiny. He broke through in dramas like Go Princess Go, 2015, Eternal Love, 2017, which made his name synonymous with fantasy romance, and The Legend of the White Snake, 2019, in which he portrayed Su Xian, a gentle soul entwined in mythic love. His fans loved him for the sincerity behind the public persona, the quiet warmth, the off-camera humility, the promise that he was more than a beautiful face. And yet, there was loneliness there, too. Every artist carries shadows, expectations, debts, betrayals. We rarely see them until they unravel. The night before his death, September 10th to 11th, remains the darkest puzzle piece. Reports suggest that you attended a dinner gathering at a friend's apartment in Beijing's Chaoyang district. Somewhere between laughter and glasses raised in toasts, fate shifted. He retired to a bedroom around 2 a.m., locking the door from within. Hours passed. At 6 a.m., friends downstairs noticed his absence. No answer. No sound. They made their way down. A neighbor walking a dog discovered his body at the foot of the building. That moment, when life is crossed out with a final line, is the one we endlessly circle. Did he slip? Did something push him? Was it desperation or violence? The police quickly came, cordoned off the scene. The window and its safety net were disturbed. The screen was torn, the pane ajar. The official conclusion was simple: no criminality. In a somber Weibo statement, his agency confirmed. With unbearable sorrow, we announce that our beloved Menglong fell to his death on September 11th. Police have ruled out any criminality. We hope he rests in peace and his loved ones remain strong. His mother later added that he had been under the influence of alcohol at the time and urged the public to stop speculating and let the family grieve. She described her heartbreak, asking for calm in the storm of rumors. But the official is rarely the whole. A million whispers rose in internet shadows. Some claimed his abdomen had been bandaged or wrapped, torn cloth around his midsection. Others pointed to bruising, twisting on his limbs, signs he might have been thrown. Over 17 attendees at the dinner circulated in rumors. Producers, actors, assistants. One name cast repeatedly was Xianqi, alleged by some to have connections to powerful circles. A chilling message, purportedly sent to his mother, went viral. Every time I see the money they transfer, I vomit. That money isn't earned by me, it's dirty. I must say goodbye now, mother. They may come and kill me any time. Was this a dying confession or a manipulated text seeded by rogue actors? No verification has come from authorities. Some even claimed there was an initial fall, a failed attempt, followed by an illicit surgery in a hidden place. Then a final, fatal fall. The abdomen wrapping, they argue, was from that operation. Conspiratorial threads spoke of USB drives hidden in his body, evidence that powerful figures had much to lose. When accounts swelled, authorities struck back. Shanghai police reportedly detained individuals for rumor-mongering, and posts were scrubbed from Weibo. But as one netizen wrote, the harder you push down, the louder the question grows. To imagine his final moment is to stare into darkness, a man inebriated, somewhere between consciousness and collapse. A window, an open space, a torn mesh. Gravity waiting. Breath falters. Muscles fail. The world rushes past. From high above, sound and sky and terror. The body hits. Silence. That snapshot, a frozen frame, haunts us. It burns into the mind, soft face, fallen eyes, a life undone in one irrevocable heartbeat. Some say the impact was instantaneous, others that he lingered, gasping. No one knows which is true. That last breath, caught between life and death, slipped away. Yu Menglong's death isn't just the end of a beloved actor. It's a crucible for issues that simmer beneath the surface of show business in China: control, power, censorship, vulnerability of stars. The sheer speed with which posts disappeared, how rumor posts vanished, how narrative lines were drawn, is viewed by many as proof of deeper forces at play. Some see Menglong's death as a warning. Dissent or refusal to comply with opaque systems can cost a life. Netizens now cry for CCTV footage, detailed autopsy reports, and witness logs. They feel the state owes them more than a terse two-sentence statement. His passing joins a list of young Chinese celebrities whose deaths ended in falls or sudden tragedies, raising cultural and industry shadows unspoken. Even as the world demands answers, he already lies beyond them. The body repatriated, funeral held, mourning began. While his fans weep, the machinery of speculation grinds on. But on quiet nights, if you close your eyes, you might hear his voice. "I must say goodbye now, Mother." Those words, if real, reverberate as a death note, not just for him, but for all who feel trapped in silent contracts of power. We remember him for laughter, for romantic scenes, for the light he lent to stories that dance between fantasy and heartbreak. In Eternal Love, his gaze held eternity itself. In Go Princess Go, he bent genre with fearless whimsy. Now his final act is etched in ambiguity, a wound in public memory. But let us also commit this. Do not let him vanish in rumor. Let the light he left illuminate the shadows we fear. So I close with this. In the stillness after that last fall, his breath escapes, but his echo remains. He was not born into the neon glare of the entertainment world. Yu Menglong's first breaths were drawn far from the polished stages of Beijing or Shanghai. In the vast landscape of Urumqi, Xinjiang, the boy who would one day command millions of fans arrived quietly on June 15, 1988. The desert air and mountain winds shaped a child who looked up at a sky too big for one life. Those who knew him as a boy remembered his gentle voice, a softness that seemed almost out of place in a world that often demands hardness to survive. Music found him first. Long before scripts and spotlights, his guitar was his confession booth. He wrote songs like sketches in a diary, not expecting an audience. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. At the Beijing Film Academy, he stepped into a world where faces were canvases and stories were currency. While others sharpened their craft with loud ambition, you carried an understated gravity. It was this stillness, this ability to be both present and unreachable, that drew attention. He debuted in the entertainment world as a singer-songwriter. His early singles, tucked away in corners of the Chinese music charts, hinted at something fragile yet defiant. His voice wasn't thunder, it was water, flowing, constant, quietly carving valleys into stone. Listeners said it felt like he was whispering directly into their hearts, as though each lyric was a private letter meant only for them. But the screen soon came calling. Casting directors saw in him not just beauty, but the kind of sincerity that makes even fantastical stories believable. And so, in 2015, he was handed a role that would catapult him into the collective imagination of China and beyond. Go Princess Go. The quirky web drama, equal parts parody and romance, became a viral sensation. For Yu, it was like stepping onto a rocket he had never meant to board. Overnight, strangers spoke his name as though they had known him forever. If Go Princess Go introduced him, Eternal Love immortalized him. The fantasy epic, with its sprawling tale of gods, demons, and love that endures across lifetimes, demanded performances that felt otherworldly yet grounded. Yu Menglong delivered both. He gave audiences a tenderness that felt eternal, his gaze heavy with the kind of longing that makes viewers forget the line between fiction and truth. He became not just an actor, but a vessel for longing itself. Fans, particularly young women, filled social media with endless edits of his scenes, pairing them with poetry and music as if to preserve the magic. By the time the legend of the White Snake arrived in 2019, he was no longer a rising star. He was a constellation in his own right. As Su Xian, he breathed new life into one of China's oldest folk tales. His portrayal balanced innocence and devotion so convincingly that even those who had heard the tale 100 times wept as if for the first. He was no longer just performing a character. He was embodying love itself, fragile, faded, and fierce. But what set you apart was not simply his roles. It was the way he carried them beyond the screen. Off camera, fans often spotted him in unguarded moments, helping staff move equipment, greeting extras as if they were co-stars, bowing a little too deeply at fan meetings. His humility became his armor. He wore fame lightly, as if wary of how easily it could turn heavy. And yet, beneath this soft exterior, there was a complexity that only glimpses revealed. A friend spoke of his silences, of how he would drift into thought even in the middle of laughter. In interviews, he often deflected personal questions, preferring to let his characters speak for him. But sometimes, when asked about love or purpose, his eyes flickered with something unsaid. "Love is not about forever," he once remarked softly. "It's about the moments that make us forget time exists." Those who followed him closely sensed that he poured himself too much into his roles, as if leaving a piece of his spirit behind each time. The romantic tragedies he played on screen began to feel like rehearsals for something greater, something darker. He carried the weight of fictional heartbreak so convincingly that fans wondered if it was really fiction at all. On stage, when he sang, audiences often described the experience as a confession wrapped in melody. He wasn't performing at them, he was confiding in them. During one concert, he paused mid-song, lowered his head, and simply whispered into the microphone, "Thank you for listening." The crowd erupted, yet he stood there, quiet, as if surprised that his voice had found so many ears. That humility was rare in an industry where many believe noise is survival. His artistry, however, was only one half of his story. The other half was his humanity, a quality fans clung to. He wasn't untouchable, not a marble statue of celebrity. He was the boy next door who never quite believed he belonged on the red carpet. Photos of him in plain t-shirts and jeans circulated as proof. "See, he's one of us." His Weibo posts, often short and cryptic, felt like fragments of poetry rather than declarations. Fans dissected them line by line, searching for meaning in the spaces between his words. And perhaps that was his gift. He lived as a puzzle. Not the kind you solve, but the kind you carry. He wasn't the loudest, the flashiest, or the most controversial. He was something rarer, a mirror. People saw in him what they most longed for: gentleness, vulnerability, beauty without arrogance. But in that same gentleness, there lingered a shadow. Stardom is a bargain, and used currency was his soul. The more he gave, the less he seemed to keep for himself. When he walked into a room, cameras captured his light, but friends whispered that he often walked out dimmed. Fame didn't corrupt him, it quietly consumed him. By the time he turned 37, Menglong had lived lifetimes on screen. He had loved across centuries, died in arms, fought gods, and defied fate. He gave audiences stories that carved themselves into memory. And yet, off-screen, he remained unfinished, still searching, still restless, as if the world expected him to play a role he hadn't auditioned for. This was Menglong before that morning in September, the artist, the dreamer, the man who belonged equally to the screen and to silence. His life was a constellation of moments, a song strummed in solitude, a gaze that melted into eternity, a bow offered too humbly, a whisper of gratitude in front of thousands. He was not just a star, he was a breath in twilight, fragile and fleeting but unforgettable. And perhaps that is what makes his last breath so haunting. Because before the silence there was music. Before the fall there was flight. Before the end, there was a man who gave everything he was to stories, until he became one himself.